Hello crafty friends and welcome back to the Crafty Seas. Today we are taking part in the Pumpkin Spice and All Things Nice collaboration hosted by Emily from Emily's Paper Caper and Linnea from Fashionably 50 Something and Beyond. So today we'll be making this lovely Pumpkin Spice and All Things Nice themed shaker card and matching envelope. So let's get crafting. First thing that we're going to use is this Cintura Pearl card in pumpkin colour and this lovely piece of pumpkin paper from the Crafter Companion Halloween collection and a 6x4 card blank and envelope. The first step is to cut your cardstock, your matten layers, and I've just come in 1/8 of an inch increments down, and we're going to attach the Cintura Pearl to the card blank, but this part we need to die cut our pumpkin shape in order to make the shaker. To make the aperture for our shaker, we're going to be using this pumpkin die from the Sizzix Thinlits set by Tim Holtz. There is a pumpkin die in the Halloween collection box from Crafter's Companion, but this one's slightly larger, so more room for your shaker. So we'll just pop this through the die machine. So that's what it looks like once it's die cut out, but don't throw away your waste. We are going to use this to decorate the envelope. Next, before we stick everything together, we're going to cut out our sentiment using this die here that is part of the Say It With Style Crafter's Companion Compendium set, and I think we'll use this die here, but we might as well cut the full sheet while we're at it. And again, we're going to be using the Cintura Pearl. So that's us got our tag shapes cut out. I'm not quite sure what one I'm going to use, so I'm going to use this stamp set here that's got the lovely Pumpkin Spice and All Things Nice sentiment on it. This stamp set came with a Papercraft magazine that we got last year. It was the free stamp set that you get with it. And as this is Cintura Pearl, it can be quite tricky to stamp on, so we are going to heat emboss it with a pretty gold embossing powder. And a top tip when you are embossing is make sure you get your heat gun really hot before you start trying to emboss it. Let's get stamping. We're just using the clear embossing ink to stamp up the ink and just making sure the stamp is the right way around. This is quite a fine detail stamp, so the embossing ink is perfect to pick up the detail. Then we're going to use this handy little tray to catch the excess from our embossing powder. And just tap off the back to remove any excess powder. A crafty tip here as well is if you have a small makeup brush, a fine, maybe an eyeshadow brush, you can use that to just brush away any excess pieces of embossing powder, as you don't want them to stick when you put the heat gun to it. And we're just using a pair of wooden tongs here just to protect our hands from the heat. And we'll just gently heat over with the heat gun and watch the magic happen as it turns to a lovely sparkly gold colour. It's my favourite part of embossing. This paper had a distress pattern to the outside edges, and as we've cut it down to size, the other edge doesn't have it, so we're just going to use a distress ink in tea stain just to match up the edges and give it a distressed look. The Cintura Pearl also has a white core, so to avoid seeing the white edges, we're just going to use the same distress ink in tea dye just to cover up that white edge as well. Okay, so we're starting to gather together all our elements. We have our die cut piece that we've inked round, our matten layer, our sentiment, our banner for on the front. some string to attach your banner with, some acetate for the shaker element, and some foam on a roll. We'll need some glitter or sequins for in our shaker, and then we can start constructing the card. Acetate over the aperture, as we don't want all our sequins or glitter falling everywhere. I've done that before making a card. So step 1, cover the hole. Step 2, we're going to attach our sentiment. Here we're just making sure it's nicely aligned on the front, and then we'll flip it over and just use some tape roller to attach it to the back. These Crafter Companion tape guns are really quite strong, so it's fine to adhere the string in place with this. Just checking that it's nice and straight and where we want it to be. Trim off the excess string, and then we're going to use our foam on a roll to create a window for our sequins or glitter, whatever you're using, to be contained in. And we'll also put some around the edges of the card as well, just to make sure that dimension's even when we come to attach it to the card. And it's important when you're making your shaker window not to leave any gaps in the foam, because you don't want your glitter escaping everywhere. But as you'll see if you stay tuned, we're not the best at making shaker cards, and sometimes there can be little disasters. Here we've got just some plain gold glitter that we're going to use for the shaker element. And make sure you put enough glitter in your card that when you shake it, it will still be visible. And at this point, things started to go a little wrong. I'm sure the crafters out there who are watching this will have a tip that they can share with us to avoid this happening. But it wasn't too bad. We managed to save the card and just place a piece of acetate over here and press firmly down, shake off the loose glitter, and just make sure that it was completely sealed and still functioning as a shaker. Lucky escape this time, I think. Next, we just stuck the shaker element onto the cintura pearl, and then we'll attach that to the card blank. Checking that the card is the right way round, because how many times have we made a backwards card or an upside down card? So it's always worth just that second to double check you've got your card opening the right way before you stick on your design element. Line it all up and just stick it down using the tape runner again for ease. We always like to decorate our envelopes, and we're just going to use the waste from the die pumpkin on the back and the spare card that was left over in the cintura pearl and the pumpkin design paper, and again just gently going over with the distress ink and tea dye just to take that white edge off and match up the edges of the card. Then we're going to matte and layer this and attach it to the envelope. We always like to decorate the envelope using the scraps from a project. It's a great way to make sure you're not left with little scraps of paper that are too small to really use, and it always makes the card feel that little bit more special, I feel. And we're just going to add a sentiment to the inside. This one says, grateful, thankful and blessed. A lovely sentiment for this time of year. And here is the finished card. Pumpkin spice and all things nice. And the shaker, I'm glad to inform you, works, and there's no stray glitter. Phew! So thank you very much for watching, and please follow along using the hashtag pumpkin spice and all things nice, and check out the description box below, because there's loads of talented crafters taking part in this collaboration, and you'll find a link to everyone's channel in the description box. So thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting.